Welcome home, sweetie. Lunch is on the table.
My mother's voice cut across the dinner table like a knife. Retire at 35? Valerie, you're delusional. My father didn't even look up from his plate. You can barely afford that apartment. What retirement fund? My brother snickered. The whole table went quiet, staring at me. I didn't say a word. But I should have. Because what they didn't know would cost them everything. My name's Valerie. I'm 29 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been invisible. I work as a compliance officer at a mid-sized insurance firm. Stable, predictable, boring, at least, that's what my family thinks. I've always been the practical one, the quiet daughter who paid her own bills, drove a 10-year-old sedan, and didn't post every meal on Instagram. My younger brother? He was the star, the entrepreneur, the one who talked about scaling startups and drove a leased BMW he couldn't actually afford. My parents ate it up. I lived in a small one-bedroom apartment with furniture from thrift stores. I didn't wear designer clothes. I didn't take expensive vacations. But I had something they didn't expect. A plan. I'd been quietly working toward early retirement since I was 24, maxing out my retirement accounts, investing in index funds, living way below my means. I wasn't flashy or loud, but I was building something real, and they had no idea. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. I read every comment, and I need to know I'm not alone in this. The whole mess started 2 months before that dinner. I was on the phone with my mom, and I mentioned my retirement goal. Just casually, like it was a normal thing to talk about. She shut me down immediately. That's not realistic for someone like you. I tried to explain. Index funds, side income, frugal living, a 5-year roadmap. She cut me off. Your brother's already made 6 figures this year. Maybe you should ask him for advice. The sting was sharp, but I let it go. I told myself she didn't mean it. A week later, my parents invited me to Sunday brunch. Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole lineup. I thought it'd be nice, a chance to reconnect. I was wrong. Halfway through the meal, I mentioned I'd been working with a financial planner to finalize my retirement roadmap. My dad laughed, out loud, in front of everyone. Retirement? She can't even afford a real vacation? My brother leaned back in his chair, grinning. Val's always been a dreamer. She just doesn't have the income to back it up. My aunt nodded like she was doing me a favor. Maybe focus on getting married first, sweetheart. The table agreed. Everyone. Like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I sat there, frozen, my face burning. I excused myself to the bathroom just to breathe. And that's when I heard my mom's voice through the door. She was on the phone in the hallway. She's lost touch with reality. I'm actually worried about her. I stood there, staring at my reflection in the mirror, and I realized something. They didn't just dismiss me. They pitied me. A month later, I found out my parents had called a family financial meeting. I wasn't invited. I only knew about it because my brother accidentally sent a group text to the wrong chat. Something about finalizing the investment plan for the business. I texted my mom. Why wasn't I invited to the meeting? Her reply came an hour later. We didn't think you'd understand. You're not really entrepreneurial. My dad's response was even worse. Besides, this is about real investment. Real investment. Like my entire financial future was just a hobby. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. But it got worse. 3 weeks later, my brother threw a launch party for his new company. Some kind of tech consulting thing. I didn't really understand it, but I went to be supportive. Big mistake. He gave a speech in front of about 50 people. investors, friends, family. And right in the middle of it, he said this: "Unlike my sister, I didn't settle for a desk job and a retirement fantasy." The room laughed. I felt my throat tighten. My hands went cold. After the speech, my mom pulled me aside. "Don't take it personally, he's just confident." I stared at her. "He insulted me in front of 50 people. She sighed. "You're too sensitive. This is why you'll never get ahead." I left early. I didn't say goodbye. But the final straw came 3 weeks later. My parents called me, together, on speakerphone. "We need to ask you a favor," my dad said. I already knew where this was going. "We need a loan, $8,000, just to cover a shortfall for your brother's business expenses." I almost laughed. "Why me? You said I could barely afford my apartment." My dad's voice went sharp. "We're family. Don't be selfish." My mom jumped in. "Your brother's investment is going to pay off big. You should want to help." I said no. They hung up on me. That night, my brother texted me, "You're really going to let them down because of your ego?" I sat there, staring at my phone, and I felt something break inside me. I'd been supporting myself since I was 22, saving aggressively, living below my means, building a future. And my brother's success was funded entirely by our parents. I was done trying to prove myself with words. What they didn't know was that I wasn't just planning to retire. I was already halfway there. For the past 5 years, I'd been running a side business, freelance financial consulting, budgeting workshops online. It brought in an extra $3,000 to $4,000 a month, sometimes more. Every single dollar went straight into investments. I'd maxed out my retirement accounts. I'd built a brokerage portfolio. I tracked my net worth religiously. Currently, $310,000. My family had no idea. They still thought I was barely scraping by. I'd never corrected them. I valued my privacy. I didn't need their approval. But now, I was glad I'd kept quiet, because their ignorance was about to become their embarrassment. I called my best friend Nina. She's a tax attorney. We used to work together. I told her everything: the loan request, the insults, the exclusion. She listened. And then she said something I'll never forget. "You don't owe them anything, especially not proof. But if you want to shut them up, the numbers will do it." She offered to help me draft a clean financial independence report. Just the facts. No emotion. I hesitated, but then I agreed. Meanwhile, my brother's business started to struggle. He was burning through cash. The launch hadn't brought in the revenue he'd promised. My parents were anxious, but they doubled down. At a cousin's birthday dinner, my mom bragged to everyone at the table, "Our son is building an empire. Valerie's still figuring things out." I stayed quiet, but I felt the sting. Later, I overheard my dad talking to my uncle. "We tried to help her, but she's stubborn. Refused to pitch in for her own brother." My brother texted me again that night. "Mom and Dad are stressed because of you. Congrats." I didn't respond. Instead, I finished my financial report with Nina, and I decided I'd go to my parents' anniversary dinner. And if they pushed me again, I'd show them the truth. The dinner was at their house, about 15 people, close family only. Everything was fine at first. Small talk, wine, appetizers, and then my brother opened his mouth. "Val, still planning that imaginary retirement?" Laughter around the table. My mom sighed, dramatically. "Sweetheart, it's okay to admit when something's not realistic. No one's judging." I set down my fork. "Actually, I'd like to talk about that." My dad smirked. "Go ahead. Entertain us." I pulled a folder from my bag. 1 page, printed clean. I slid it to the center of the table. My current net worth is $310,000. Silence. I kept going. Retirement accounts, brokerage, side business income. I'll retire at 37, maybe earlier. My brother scoffed. That's impossible. You're making, what, 60,000 a year? I make 68,000, I said. But I've also been running a financial consulting business for 5 years. That adds 40 to 50,000 annually. My mom's face went pale. You never told us. You never asked, I said. You just assumed I was failing. My dad leaned forward. If you had that kind of money, why didn't you help your brother? I looked him in the eye. Because he insulted me publicly. Because you excluded me from family meetings. Because you called me selfish for having boundaries. My brother tried to recover. Val, come on, we were joking. No, I said. You were cruel. And you did it because you thought I couldn't fight back. My mom's voice shook. We didn't mean... You meant every word, I said. You've spent years making me feel small. I'm done shrinking for you. I stood up. I'll retire at 37. You can keep pretending his business is thriving, but we both know who's actually stable. I left the folder on the table and walked out. Behind me, I heard my aunt whisper, She's been planning this the whole time? Nina, who'd come as my +1, smiled and followed me out. For 2 weeks, I didn't hear from my parents. My brother sent a short, awkward text. Didn't know you were doing that well. My bad. I didn't reply. Eventually, my mom called. Left a voicemail. No apology. Just a tentative, we'd love to see you for coffee. I thought about it. I wasn't interested in revenge. Just peace. I agreed to meet. But I set a boundary. I'll come, but I'm not your backup plan and I'm not your punchline. She quietly agreed. I didn't need them to understand my plan. I just needed them to stop underestimating me. And for once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If you've ever had to stand up to family who doubted you, hit subscribe and tell me your story. Drop your location in the comments. I read everyone and I want to know where you're watching from. Have you ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to believe in you? Share it below. Your story matters. Let's build a community where we lift each other up.